Good morning. I was up meditating all last night. Last night was one of my worst nights in years. It was terrible. I mean, the whole day was terrible. And realizing that so many of these symptoms had come back and getting lost in the whole, okay, I'm going to get back to, my diet and my detox and all of this stuff. And I even posted about that yesterday. But in my meditation last night, I really had some insightful things come to me that I want to share. So I am not going to talk about detox as I said I was. I'm not going to integrate that with mind-body healing. I'm going to keep that separate until the new year, and I am going to take this opportunity to practice, what it is that I believe right here in real time. So I think when we get off course and when we have setbacks and when we have flares, it is easy to jump into doing mode. It's easy to jump into action mode. What did I do? How can I fix this? And I even have to remind myself, it took me a couple days to get here in deep meditation, that doing at this point, jumping into action, is not the way to heal this problem. That I have everything I need inside me to be able to heal this without jumping into a huge detox protocol and without, ramping up some major change to my diet. I'm not saying that detox and diet aren't important. But what I am saying is that when you are in a setback, when you are in a major flare, when something has gone wrong or when you're suffering in some way, I know this from experience, and sometimes even I lose sight of this because it's the feeling of distress overtakes you and you feel like you have to do something to fix it, right? You would do anything to fix it. But I know this from experience. Jumping into a major change of diet, detox, protocols, when you are suffering and unfocused, is the wrong thing to do. I know this from experience. I've done it. I've made a mess of things before. When you are already, experiencing this major flare or setback, is not the time to try a whole bunch of new supplements and try and to embark on a huge detox protocol. What it is the time for is to get stable. So it is important to do a check-in on the basics. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to do a check-in on the basics, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do moving forward instead of what I did say yesterday. Because after a lot of meditation, I believe that is the wrong thing to do. It is better to stay, to go inside, to remember you have all the tools that you need to heal yourself within, and to not make big sweeping changes when you're in a flare or a setback, because that often complicates, not only mentally complicates, because then you don't know what works, what doesn't, what's hurting you, what's not, right? It psychologically can be scary to be trying new things and doing new things and not knowing. But also physically, your body's not ready at this point. You need to stabilize first. And I've learned, if I have learned anything in the past, it is this. And still the desperation to heal in those moments will be so overpowering that you lose all rational perspective. But after, that's what meditation's good for. After a series of deep meditations, I've come to the realization that making changes at this time is not the most beneficial and is not the most beneficial thing for anybody to do when they're in a setback or flare. So let's check in with the basics. Okay, are you getting enough sleep? Boring, right? Sleep is the actual number one thing that your body needs to heal. So I've done a lot of videos on sleep in the past. You can go look those up. Just search my name with the word sleep. You will find lots of tips on how to get a good night's sleep, but sleep is so important. So, are you getting a good night's sleep? Sometimes you can't control, whether you're sleeping fully or deeply, But there's certain things you can control, right? You can make it dark in your room. You can make it cold in your room. You can control what time you go to bed at. So what time are you going to bed at? What time do you think a person who is as sick as you, or has the symptoms that you are experiencing, or has a chronic illness or chronic whatever to heal, what time do you think they should go to bed every night? How many hours do you think they need to sleep? These are important questions, and I don't want you to just hear them, I want you to answer them. So if you said 9 o'clock, if you said 9:30, if you said 10 o'clock, if you said 8 o'clock, if you said 7 o'clock, I don't care what time you said, whatever time you believe, how much sleep do you think that would be, if you could sleep, if you could get into bed, if you could make it work, do you think is the right thing for you or somebody in your position who's really sick to do? Then I want you to ask yourself, why aren't I doing it? Why aren't I going to bed at that time? And I want you to say, if I'm not going to bed at the time that I believe is helpful, is the right thing for me to do in order to heal, then I'm not doing everything I can right now. I'm not doing the basics in order to help myself heal. So it's important that you make a commitment to yourself and you say, you know what, 9 o'clock or whatever you say is my bedtime. Doesn't matter, that's it, it's drop dead. And I'm gonna go into a dark, cold room and I'm going to, however it is best that I fall asleep, whether it's just meditate or, you know, however you can do it. And I'm going to stay there and I'm going to rest. If I can't sleep, I'm going to get into deep rest, allow my body to sleep, and I'm going to sleep until I wake up. No alarm, right? Whatever. So you can make that commitment today. So do it, okay? There's no excuses. You absolutely have to, if you want to heal, get enough sleep. So the basics, easy, it's free, it's just a commitment, do it. Okay, number 2, diet. Okay, diet is seriously important, but it can also be stressful if you're putting so many restrictions on your body, if you're afraid of food, if you're afraid of doing it wrong, if you're afraid of eating that carb or eating that meat or eating that vegetable or whatever it is that brings you to fear because of all the things that you've heard, you're creating fear in your body. You are creating fear in your body. So at this point in time, when you're experiencing a setback or a flare, psychologically, you don't want to test your limits. You don't want to be putting foods into your mouth that totally freak you out, even though that's where you want to get to. Because in a setback, you don't need any more psychological fears or worries on top of your already real symptoms, right? Because fear will just push your symptoms harder. So I want you to remember and to go back, has to be a whole foods diet. So a whole foods, I don't care, a whole organic foods diet. Okay, so if you're eating protein and meat and stuff like that, grass-fed meat, bone broths, pasture-raised vegetables, organic fruit, organic, right? Everything organic. I would probably pare it down to the simplest foods and the best diet that you felt the safest on over these years. So what diet that you've already done has resonated with you the most, has made you feel the safest? When you eat it, you feel like, yeah, that's a safe food, that's a safe food, that's a safe food. You feel the safest eating it. As long as they're whole and organic, I don't really care about putting you on a specific diet right at this time in a flare. Just eat. I mean, if a specific diet calls to you, like if keto calls to you or if AIP calls to you, great, then just go to that diet if that's the diet that you feel best on and feel the safest doing. But I'm asking you, what foods do you feel nourish you, give you energy, help you, right? Are safe to eat. We just don't want you worrying about your diet at this point. So as long as they're whole, they're organic, they come from the earth, and they instill no fear in you, right? This is the diet that I want you to eat. And when you eat it, I want you to remind yourself, this is nourishing me. This is healing me. This is helping me. This food is healing my body. This food is nourishing my body. And that's why it's so important at this point in time when you're having a setback or a flare to find your safest diet. Don't introduce those foods that you want to eat, but you're not really sure psychologically are safe for you. This is not the time to do that. Okay, go to the diet that makes you feel the safest, that is nutritious. We already know it is nutritious because it's whole organic foods from the earth. And psychologically, we want to get into the safest diet where we can allow ourselves to feel nourished, to imagine the nutrients healing us, to take benefit from what we're eating, and to really derive like a strength in our diet right now. Right? So we can eliminate fear. This is one of the things that you have to do in a setback, is eliminate fear. Okay, as well as bring nourishment in. So those are the two goals of your diet. So we want to do that. Number 3, are you drinking enough water? Okay, hydration is important when you're in a setback. I want you to fill up your water jugs at the beginning of the day, right? Your glass jars, whatever you put your water in. I want it to be fresh, pure, spring filtered water. And you can add a pinch of Celtic sea salt to it to give your minerals or trace minerals. Just a little bit, or a squeeze of lemon, or whatever it is. And I want you to hydrate through the day. Hydrate. You have no excuse not to hydrate. This is basic, right? Sleep, diet, hydration. Okay, so hydrate. You can drink herbal teas if you want. Caffeinated teas can dehydrate you, so don't do that. But you can drink, a peppermint tea, or a ginger tea, or whatever, but it's not in replacement of water. I want you to drink water, okay, as often as you can. Okay, so are you doing those basics, right? That is so important. Sleep, hydration, diet, so important, okay? Supplements. Let's talk about supplements for a little. If supplements freak you the hell out, when you are in a flare or a setback, stay off them. They are not going to be the thing that gets you out of the setback or the flare. I can promise you, especially if you're hydrating and eating whole foods from the earth. This is not the thing that's going to, supplements give you an edge, but they aren't going to heal you completely. So get it out of your mind that you have to find the perfect supplement, and that's going to take all your symptoms away. So if they freak you out and cause you more stress than they're doing benefit to you, do not take any when you're in a setback or flare. If you feel you need certain supplements and you feel good with certain supplements, and you honestly feel that certain supplements help you, and it bothers you not to take them because you feel like they're doing good for you, right? And they've proven safe for you in the past. That's also key. They have proven safe for you. You've never felt like they're triggering reactions. They're like a safe supplement. Then I want you to be able to take those supplements, whether it's vitamin C, whether it's vitamin D, whether it's amino acids. I don't know what it is that you take that you feel is helping you and benefiting you and not causing you stress, not causing you to worry about reactions. And don't add in a whole bunch of new supplements at this point when you're in a flare, because it will stress you out. It will make you wonder if it's hurting you, and it will be too much at once. Okay, keep it simple in a setback or a flare. If I've learned anything, I have often made it worse by loading myself up with healing supplements and then crashing harder, okay? Making it worse, making this last longer than necessary. So keep it simple, keep to the supplements that you feel safe about, that you feel actually benefit your body, and that you have a history with. This is important, of using without reactions and feeling safe about. Okay, so there we are. Meditation and exercise. So movement is very important. Walking, I'm going to say, is your number one key because it hits so many things. You're going to get outside in fresh air. You're going to be breathing fresh air. You're moving your lymph. You're not pushing yourself. You're able to see nature. You're able to, be outside. You're grounded to the earth. There's so many benefits to walking that make that your exercise. Unless you're just so adverse to walking, or you have something else that you like to do instead, yoga, which is also great for stretching and moving your body. It doesn't hit being outside, so then you still have to find a way to get outside, because being outside is super important. As often as you can be outside when you're in a setback or flare, do it. Get the sun on your face, be outside, breathe fresh air, do your meditation outside, do your exercise outside, do activities outside, be outside as often as you can. No matter the weather, no matter whether it's summer or winter or fall or raining, be outside as often as you can. It is so important. It will help you. It will help you over time in a flare. Okay, so we want to move. We want to find some form of exercise every day. Breathing, fresh air, so getting outside. And of course, meditation, time to sit quietly with yourself. This is often hard to do in a setback or flare because all you can feel are symptoms. And sometimes it's too much, it's too intense. But this is the time that you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, to feel the disappointment, like the emotions that come along with the symptoms. So when you're in meditation, you're going to start feeling all the symptoms, raging, right? Oh, I feel this and this and this. And then as you meditate, you're going to start reminding yourself, but what is the emotion that this brings up in me? And you're going to allow yourself to feel disappointment, fear, sadness, grief, loneliness, whatever it is that these symptoms bring out in you, you're going to sit with your emotions, and that's when you're going to do the inner work. I love you. I'm here for you unconditionally. I won't leave you. Feel these feelings, right? This is when you can do journal work about those emotions. Experiencing symptoms and having to live with them brings up a lot of emotions. You have to acknowledge them, be with them, write about them, get them out. Or pushing them down will only make your flare worse, will only make everything worse. Acknowledge and be with the emotions that setbacks and flares bring up. So again, that is key. We want to be able to sit with ourselves in silence and be there for ourselves unconditionally. That is what meditation is good for. Okay, so we've covered the basics. That's it. That's all I want you to do. I have done so many things over the course of my healing journey. In flares, I'm booking hyperbaric oxygen treatments, and I'm going to do, 60 every day for 2 hours, and, these types of things, and gone into it and done so many things. It's only ever proven to make things worse in a flare. Okay. Do not try your wildest or most outrageous protocols when you're in a setback or a flare. Please get back to basics. I can promise you that you are not doing all those basics. You're not on point with all of those easy, free, and basic and necessary things that I just talked about. So go back and watch them, write them down, make a commitment and a promise to yourself. It's about making a promise to yourself. That's what the basics is. It's they're so basic, you feel like you can avoid doing them, but you can't. If you really want to heal, you have to make that commitment to yourself. So go ahead and make it today. And then moving forward in the next video, I'm going to talk a lot about something else. I was going to move into detox, which I am not going to do because it's not the time. I've learned from experience, my meditation, I check in and I remember, right? This is what growth is. As you go along your journey, you can see where you've made the mistakes in the past and you don't have to remake them. Okay, so the next step in this journey that I'm going to talk about every day, which I think is very important for chronic illness in general, symptoms, pain, suffering, any kind of illness, and especially flares and setbacks as well, is brain retraining. Okay, so we are going to get into the specifics of brain retraining. It's a lot like inner child work, and in ways it actually goes against inner child work, but you do need to marry those two together. But we want to retrain our brains so that instead of continually sending messages of distress, fear, illness, suffering to our bodies, we learn to replace those with healing, with feelings of healing and love and safety, and we're sending thoughts through our body by retraining our mind. We're replacing those things that are continually keeping us sick right? The fear of what if, and oh my God, this is wrong and this is wrong. And we're focused on the illness. We're focused on the symptoms. We're keeping ourselves sick with these thoughts. We're making them worse. We're growing them the more we focus on them. And so it's very important in chronic illness, and especially when you're in a setback and a flare, not to slip back into victim mentality, not to slip back into negative thinking, negative patterns, negative thoughts, thoughts of illness. And it's really important to retrain our brain so that we now flood it with feelings of health, safety, vitality, the life that we want to be living. So we really need to focus on brain retraining, and that's what I'm going to start to bring to you and focus on, because the basics are important. They are key to your healthy body, and your emotional work is the key to healing, like your soul, right? But the brain retraining brings it all together as well. We need to learn how, especially when we feel we can't turn away from the riveting symptoms, we need to learn how to break those patterns and retrain our mind so that we are flooding it with the feelings and the thoughts of healing rather than sickness and illness, because it's so important that we change those thoughts. And this is not a quick process. This does not heal you overnight. But over time, I know from experience, it does. So this is what we're going to focus on. This is what we're going to do. Do the basics. Don't say, oh, well, I'm going to brain retrain so I don't have to do the basics. You have to do the basics. Do the basics, okay? And then we're going to focus on brain retraining and continuing on our emotional journey, our mind-body healing, which is really the key to all of this, and especially settling down a flare so that then we can think, how do we want to go forward? What supplements are we able to take? What detox protocols are we able to do? And do the more important inner healing work and do the more important brain retraining. And sometimes it's very hard to do when you're in the middle of excruciating pain because you're in survival mode. So it's, this work is not survival work. So do your basics. That will help take care of your survival mode and calm you down just enough so that you can do the real work, okay? And that's what we're going to focus on going forward. So I hope this has made sense, and I hope you don't mind me changing courses here and not going into the detox right now. But I really feel like I'm being tested and that there's a reason for this setback for me, and that I'm now able to repractice everything that I did learn instead of jumping back into the things that didn't work actually. So, I mean, they worked, but the things that are not the true things. So I want to stay the course with the mind-body healing, and I hope you come along with me on this journey and we will learn some brain retraining.